Hello, welcome to today's webinar on how to develop an effective networking strategy. My name is Ethan Chazin. I am a New York-based organizational development coach, and I work with executives and organizations to help them unleash their untapped potential. So let's dive right into today's webinar and the importance of forging relationships now more than ever after a global pandemic and this entity called COVID is taking on a greater challenge. The ability to build meaningful relationships, oftentimes doing it remotely, has presented a unique set of challenges for individuals. So I'm going to invest today's time together to walk you through the process of identifying the appropriate business groups to join in order to seek business referral partners to assist us in cultivating a book of business. So let's jump right in. There are a number of considerations that need to be factored into the equation when you're deciding which business referral groups to join. I make it a point, I've developed a framework that I use with my executive and CEO clients, how to go through a formal strategic assessment, which groups are worth the collective investment in time, effort, finances, and here are the steps that you might consider going through to determine if a group is appropriate for you. The first strategy is to identify select members who are currently active in the group you're interested in joining and interview with them from the perspective of, is the group worth their time and effort? You're basically gauging a return on investment from them. Is it a valuable group for them to join? Why? Why not? Ask the group's founder or founders how they assist members with identifying new business opportunities through highly pre-qualified leads, potential clients, as well as what we call business referral partner centers of influence. And I'll talk about a center of influence in a little bit. You want to have the group founder or the moderator introduce you to several members who maybe do what you do. So for example, I'm a culture transformation coach. I do employee training and executive coaching. If I were to consider joining a group, I would want to speak to members who do what I did to understand where our services dovetail, so we're not in direct competition on all of the services we provide, but also ask them if they see a value from the perspective of what we do collectively in their membership. Then identify by asking the group creator who are some of the more active members in the group. You know, the ones who are doing most of the transactional work, the one-on-ones, the referrals of potential clients. Get a short list of those very active members and talk to them. Why is the group an effective group for them to be a participant in? I want to share with you another consideration. Some individuals are serial group starters. So they've started a number of groups. Several of the groups may be outside of their home business base, their home geographic area. So an excellent question to ask a group creator, if they are creating a group in your area that group creator is not living, not residing in your area, how have they facilitated in-person group meetings? How do they coordinate get-togethers when they're not located in your backyard, so to speak? The other question to pose to the people in the group that you're considering joining, other than the best strategy is to attend those group meetings as a guest, how active are members in all of the outside formal group meeting activities? So what we know about business referral groups, professionals who are in these groups, whether they meet face-to-face or virtually, the meeting itself is just a check-in process. Right? It's just an opportunity to reconnect, report back to the group as a whole, business, given, business received, notifying everybody in the group who you've met, giving shout outs and thank yous. That's not where the real work exists. The real activity is in the one-on-ones. So ask those active members how they go about having one-on-one meetings with other members that are valuable. You really want to gauge all the outside meeting activity. To that point, how, if at all, does the group collectively and the group creators individually hold their members accountable for being active contributing members? Here's what I do in the groups that I've created in the past and do now. I let it be known to members that I monitor their activity. They cannot miss more than one meeting. We have meetings either every other week or monthly. Also, I monitor the level of activity. Do they reach out to other members to do one-on-ones? Are they referring either potential clients or other business referral sources? I want to know that they're just not coasting, that they're just not relying on others giving without them giving back. In other words, the world is filled with givers and takers. I don't want any takers in my group. So you would be well served to understand to what extent the group creator, moderator, facilitator, the leadership team, how do they foster a culture of engagement in the group? Something else that I recommend that my clients do, get an agenda for the meeting. So every meeting that meets on a recurring, regular, ongoing basis, there's an agenda. Specifically, what you want to get a handle on, what you want to get a sense of is, does the group moderator create an opportunity during every meeting for there to be a spotlight showcase on a specific member to practice their elevator pitch, talk about their products and services, and get feedback from the group, as well as an opportunity for the member in presenting to educate other group members to what are effective business referrals for that member. The other thing I do in my groups, and I encourage you think about when you're considering joining a business referral group, is there time every meeting for a member who has prevented a specific challenge that she or he or they had in advance to the moderator to present the challenge in a very collegial, confidential, non-judgmental manner to the other group members, and have the group come together as a whole and provide a safe space to give collective feedback how that individual might resolve their particular business challenges. Look, it's pretty straightforward. We are all dealing with a very specific, general set of challenges post-COVID in cultivating a rewarding book of business, identifying highly pre-qualified leads that we can convert to paying customers, as well as create opportunities for us to get introduced to other people who in turn can open doors for us. I want to see that the group moderator is incorporating those effective strategies into their group agenda to give people the opportunity to derive maximum value out of their limited time investment. The other thing that I want to see is, in the group, is there a culture of caring? And sharing means caring. So to what extent does the group share resources? I want to see group members send emails to the whole group, alerting them about upcoming events, conferences, trade shows, relevant TED Talks, new books. I want to see them share industry research publications. In other words, I want there to be a degree of sharing so that the group moderator should not be the central spoke, the hub of the wheel, so that everything in terms of member interconnectivity has to flow through that one point of contact. I want it to be a distributed network, so to speak. I want everybody actively engaged to share. And so your question, as you're delving into the ROI of your group involvement activity, to what extent do groups do this? And it's a very simple way to gauge this based on interviewing members. So those are some considerations. What are some other things to think about? You, I, we all have this incredibly finite resource called time. We can't steal, beg, or borrow to make more, right? 168 hours in a week. So if you think about the value of your time, monetize it. Take your annual revenues, or how much you make in a year, divide by 2,000, right? 50 weeks a year, 40 hours a week. And I know we all work more than that, but conservatively, 2,000 hours a year divided into your total revenue. That's your worth on an hourly basis. So if you think about your investment in groups, there should be a return on your investment, which is why I have, for myself in my own practice and for all the people I work with and coach, I have a process or a framework for tracking the return on your networking business group activity. How many referrals were you giving? How many leads did you receive that led to bona fide business? You attract opportunities through these kinds of business group endeavors, and you close business, right? You close deals. There's a revenue number that's attributed to that. Another set of questions to determine is, are the dues based on a month-over-month or annual basis? And that helps you determine revenue coming in from the group, expenses paid to be a participating member. You do an ROI, the cost-benefit analysis. You need to leave the group, how much advance notice? I'd like everybody to be able to leave a group at the end of a calendar month and not be forced into sitting there for certainly not a year or not a quarter. You want to be able to step away from the group pretty painlessly. Something else that's important to understand, are you yet another, commercial or residential real estate broker? Are you one of many people who do what you do, or is there exclusivity? We call it one subject matter expert per role. Are you the only person in that group who does what you do? We don't want you to lose out business opportunities because somebody else is cannibalizing your potential deal flow. Another consideration, to what extent do the members, ideally all members, but certainly the group creator, how do they promote the group? There should be a strong social media presence. It should be the ability to monitor, the outreach, the touch points, it's kind of akin to this, the degrees of Kevin Bacon. How many touch points are there out in the business universe? It's almost as if you think about your group's promotional activities being a stone that you're holding, and you drop it into a still pond, which is an online presence. It's the ripple out effect. Okay. There are two stakeholder groups that you are working hard to cultivate and maintain relationships with. So first and foremost, well, there are actually three. I forgot the most important one, which is employees. Those come first. But assuming you've taken care of in your organization relationship cultivation activities on behalf of your employees, the next two groups are also important. One is clients, existing client base and potential new clients. So that's where you want to go through these business referral groups to get referrals to new business. But a second stakeholder group is what we call centers of influence. And really, that's just the new networking buzzword or buzz phrase for somebody who makes for a great, powerful, they're in a great position to make introductions on your behalf. They open up doors for you. They grant you access to other groups, other associations, people in their respective social and professional networks. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes relationship cultivation, deep dive, as well as caring and empathy to want to get connected to people. So in the old way of doing business, which by the way is dead, pre-COVID, 20th century mindset, we wanted to do mass communication. We wanted to broadcast our wants and needs and desires out to the universe. The thought process was more is better, right? So when you go to people's LinkedIn profiles and they say, I am connected to 8,000 individuals, no, we're in the 21st century. When it comes to a tribe of people who share our values, our way of conducting business, less is more. And these centers of influence are the kinds of people who have demonstrated a track record of caring, of getting to know your challenges, what keeps you up at night. They've given you access to their networks. They are your proverbial VIP brand ambassadors. The value of their relationship with you is maximized. And by the way, when I say maximized, it's reciprocal. It's a mutually symbiotic or mutually beneficial relationship where givers gain. You are investing so much more into these strategic relationship contexts that are also centers of influence. When somebody, and this is professionalism 101, but it bears me mentioning, when somebody takes it upon themselves to introduce you to somebody that they've already cultivated a relationship with, that's a leap of faith. That is them exhibiting trust to you. I highly recommend that when, and I do this, I've been doing this for 35 years, when somebody makes an introduction to me, I take that introduction very seriously. I am a reflection on the individual who cared enough about me to introduce me to somebody that they've worked hard to make a relationship with. And it's almost, you want to say, be on your best behavior, but not really, but you get the concept. After you have a conversation, an initial introductory conversation with the person who the center of influence introduced you to, take the opportunity to go back, thank the person again who introduced you to this new person, and also, as a way to demonstrate you care about this relationship, give them feedback as to the appropriateness of this introduction. Say, hey, this was a wonderful introduction. This person was ideal for me because. Or conversely, if the introduction was not necessarily an ideal fit, either from your vantage point or the perspective of what you could deliver to the person you were introduced to, let your center of influence know that the introduction was not ideal for whatever reasons. Why are you doing that? Because it's incumbent upon you to educate the people in your centers of influence who make for great introductions for you. It's not their job to learn and understand. They've already proven that they're willing to assist you. You have to make it an easy lift for them. And that comes through educating them who are good and not so good introductions. So what does it mean for you to be a truly valuable center of influence yourself, or servant master, somebody who lives to serve others? Be invaluable. Think about, from the perspective of the people that you're building relationships with, how can you help them? You get out of relationships as you get out of life what you invest into them. So be somebody who shares, informs, be a support network. Check in on the people you care about periodically. Hey, just seeing how you're doing. You mentioned you were dropping your daughter off for freshman orientation at college. How did the weekend go? How are you doing? You know, I remember when I dropped my daughter off at Cornell. So think constantly how to, if you almost have to visualize it from a formulaic approach, and I hate to say this, but if you almost have to think about how to make sure there's a framework around your relationship cultivation, consider assigning points to all of the relationship stages or touch points in your organic life with these individuals. You know, the one-on-one, the sending introductions, the getting them enlisted on your e-newsletter, directing prospects to them that turn into paying customers, having in-person one-on-ones, giving an informational interview to one of their children. I mean, all of these are touch points along the way. Another powerful tool is so many people post-COVID I see are starting their own groups, which is part of the reason why I actually wanted to do this webinar, was to share these concepts around business referral group creations. Nothing speaks volumes to you being indispensable than connecting people to connecting. It is a win, win, win. Why is it a three-way win? The two parties or more that you bring together benefit from your being an integral component of that relationship bridge, but you also benefit. First of all, it feels good to introduce people who have a really, really positive outcome, but it also makes you look good. And again, part of being indispensable is building a strong reputational brand. So now on to how do you create a framework? So one of the things I work with my clients to understand is you got to plan this. You have to develop a strategic plan of attack to identify, find, cultivate, and maintain these strategic relationships. You got to plan for it. So you start out with an ideal profile, all the attributes, characteristics, qualities you can think of somebody who makes for one of two things: a great potential client, and you fill that client profile out in as much detail as possible. And the second group is a center of influence, a business referral partner. Think as clearly as you can about somebody who has been, in your world, an ideal relationship as a client. What did it take to find her or him or them, to land them as a client, to keep them satisfied in terms of client engagement, relationship management? Document it all. That's your cookie cutter blueprint for success. Similarly, you're going to do the same process for your ideal business referral partners. In as much detail, you get a center of influence profile or avatar so that you can literally identify other individuals by comparing notes to the attributes of this person who's already a very valuable VIP brand ambassador. So the way to think about connections, potential clients, or centers of influence is to do your research. Research them, their backgrounds, their professional bios. Look at everything it took through your actions to land these clients and centers of influence. You're starting to create a structural framework for a relationship pipeline. Not sales. Sales is a transaction, and it's an outcome of effectively cultivating relationship pipelines. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time. You can go and replay this webinar and you can see all the details, but an ideal target profile encompasses a lot of different attributes, characteristics, background, education, their job title, maybe their values, their culture. It's the aggregate things that make them unique and valuable, memorable relationships. So you've got all of the touch points, the attributes, characteristics. So then once you've identified your ideal potential client and your ideal potential center of influence, business referral partner, you create an action plan around those two profiles. It's a mini marketing, networking, strategic plan of attack. And if you're interested in actually having me walk you through this, please let me know for when we have a one-on-one. So what are the strategies? What are the groups? What are the relationships that you are proactively priming the pump to cultivate those two sets of stakeholders, potential clients, and we obviously know it's a 365-day-a-year initiative, and then also strategic business referral partners. What are you doing? What is proven to be successful? What's not? Don't do that anymore. What is? Do more of that. So here's where we get into a deep dive. Ostensibly, the reason that you're thinking about strategic relationship building to identify potential new business as well as really, really profitable business referral partners, professional acquaintances, friends, is you want to actually, if you think about it as a marketer, and that's where I spent the first 20 years of my career as a marketer before I went into coaching 13 years ago. Every marketing individual understands a marketing campaign, like a business referral meeting, is actually a three-step process. There's the pre-event, the event, and the post-event. I'm going to walk you through that process to take some of the guesswork out of how to go from networking, which is not even a term for human beings, it's for computers, to relationship building. So the first is the pre-event, right? The pre-event exists for you to do background research. So you identify whether it's an in-person or a virtual, who are the participants? and you look at their background, look at their LinkedIn profile, the bio on their website. You do glorified stalking. Look at where they went to college. Did they get a graduate degree? Any volunteer work, community engagement? What trade shows, events, conferences are they involved with? What groups do they belong to? You want to get a snapshot of them so that you can craft your pitches and you can put your salient talking points as icebreakers to start making them feel a little bit more comfortable and make yourself a little bit more interesting when it's showtime, which is stage 2, the event. So send them an invitation to connect before the event. Hey, Letitia, I see that you're going to be at the business referral meeting that I'm attending as a guest next Tuesday. Excited to meet you virtually before then. I'd like to invite you to connect. Regards, Ethan. And then you put your email address and your most appropriate phone, probably your mobile, your cell phone number. Invite them to connect, personalize the invitation through your research, and also preempt them. Let them know that you're going to be meeting them, whether it's virtual or in person, so that your name will stand out, maybe even your face, when it's time for the meeting. So we've done the research. We've prepped for the pre-event. That's step 2. Step 3 is the actual event itself. Most people leave this up to chance. They just quote unquote show up. Not you. Not on my watch. You're going to come fully prepared to shine by maximizing the time that you've invested. If you think about going to a meeting in person, a networking event, the hour it takes to get there, the 1, often 2 hours to be there, maybe more, the 1 hour to get back home, that's a half day at least. You want to maximize your time investment. So I've come up with a framework for how to have a one-on-one. And typically, I had to design this for many of my clients that I coach for introverts. And so to give them practice and rehearsal around having a framework, I came up with 521. And what the 521 model is in the first 5 seconds, say something that's so engaging that you catch them off guard. Hi, my name is Ethan. I've devoted my career to helping unleash people's untapped potential to maximize their careers. Something along those lines. It should flow freely and without stumbling. The 5 is a headline. It's an attention grabber, so that the 2 becomes them saying, you know what, Ethan, that's interesting. Tell me more. What does that mean? Or a few minutes of opportunity to fill in some of the details. You want to know how I unleash people's untapped potential to maximize their career and professional development? I do it 3 ways: through employee professional training, executive one-on-one or executive team coaching, and culture transformation. And that leads to the last bit of talking about you. Remember, part of being interesting when you meet a new person is you've done the research to ask them questions about themselves. Nobody gets tired, for the most part, of talking about themselves. So you want to spend as little time talking about yourself as possible. So 5-second intro. Hi, Ethan. What are you doing here? Tell me about you. The 5 seconds headline to talk 2 minutes maybe about yourself in a little more detail. The goal in all of this is to have the ability, if both parties feel like there's a connection, to schedule some time afterwards. The one is just kind of, you think about it, in an hour, maybe even 1/2 of 1 hour, to meet with them after this event, either virtually or in person. My biggest piece of advice to anybody who's looking to cultivate relationships that may lead to potential deal flow by acquiring new customers and or down the road cultivating centers of influence, please, life's too short. Don't be boring. Do not be boring. How do you increase the likelihood of not being boring? Well, you've already done the heavy lifting. You've done the research and preparation. You've looked into their background. You ask them questions about themselves. You follow up during, so that after, if you both feel like there's an interest in pursuing the conversation, you want to actually afterwards do some follow-up. And I hate to say it, but most people operate under the age-old acronym WIFM. What's in it for me? So you're going to have to initially, a majority of the times with this relationship cultivation, do the heavy lifting, which is the post-event follow-up. Invite them to a Zoom, WebEx, or maybe a face-to-face meet and greet if they're in your neighborhood. Remember, This is not selling. I can't tell you over the years how many thousands of people don't get this. They're looking at the other person either across the screen or across the table as a cash register. Stop it. The sale is the potential logical culmination of a relationship well visited. Your goal is not to sell. I don't even care if that's what it is. The goal is to cultivate the relationship that may lead to business later on. American struggle. We are a Western individualist society. We go from point A to point B, damn the torpedoes. You almost want to get out of that kind of pursuit of the sale mindset to be more of the nurturer. I mean, it's driven a lot by personality, and if you're a driver, a dominant style of personality, and your communication goes that way, but be less of the driver and more of the servant master. Always send a thank you. It takes 2 seconds to send a LinkedIn after you've connected LinkedIn message saying, hey, thanks, Ethan, for our time together today. Looking forward to seeing how we can help each other. Send an email. I know that email is almost a lost art. What I do, I have cards. I have thank you notes that have my face on the front. And it says thank you on the back it's blank. And you say, thank you for speaking with me on August 14th. Looking forward to exploring a relationship together. And you pop your business card in there. Boom. People don't get those anymore in the mail. The other thing is, maybe there was a follow-up, you mentioned a relevant TED Talk or a book. Start going down the road of cultivating the relationship by sharing. So as we get to the end of today, I want to share with you that I spent the better part of a decade researching in world-class organizations all over the world, those organizations who finish in the top 1 or 2 in terms of strongest financial position in their respective industries. And I was curious, what, if any, attributes, characteristics do all great organizations share as far as leadership, professional development? And after about 8 or 9 years of research, the conclusion was there's only one characteristic that all amazing, financially successful organizations share. And here's what it's not. It has nothing to do with country of origin, leadership, team, products and services, where they are in their narrative arc, their organic life cycle. One attribute only. Did they have a compassionate, pro-employee culture? And that epiphany, that aha moment led me to my second book, Compassionate Organization. So I want to thank you so much for taking some time to allow me to take you down the road of exploration around relationship cultivation. Obviously, this isn't rocket science, but it's almost as if it's a lost art in this age of post-global pandemic, post-COVID kind of molecule wars, figuring out where we fit in the hierarchy of life, so much anxiety and stress and uncertainty, and having to make meaningful connections two-dimensionally across the screen. Let's break out. Let's get back to a more humanistic approach to cultivating meaningful relationships. So thank you so much for your time. I would love the opportunity, if you have any questions or want to go a little bit deeper, reach out to me via email or text. Be sure to check out my LinkedIn profile. I look forward to having a follow-up conversation with you to explore opportunities for me to assist you in your journey through relationship cultivation. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful time.